saw a notification that said.
Oh, I was able to hit record. Okay, so it just wanted to throw me for a loop for a second. So we are recording. This is the December issue. It's not an issue. I'm already all over the place. The December edition of the HWA Rhode Island chapter meeting. I'm going to try to talk a little slowly at first because I can hear my speakers echoing. So hopefully that'll just fix itself as we move forward. So yeah, we don't have a super full agenda today, so I thought we could take some time to talk about the reading that we are planning for Saturday. Hear myself echoing. So Stephen, you just brought up the point that you had emailed me and asked if you should go 14 minutes because that would allow you to read your entire story. And I told you that I think we should try to keep it to 10 because, if we have enough readers, it'll be 10, it'll be about 50 minutes. And then with a 5-minute intro and closing remarks kind of thing. But what are people's thoughts on like what the best length for a reading is? I know like even writers have made comments in the past about like not everyone loves readings. Some people find it hard to like concentrate and pay attention, and you don't get the same thing out of listening as you would to picking something up off, in print. So I have always tried to stay on the really short side. And so my advice to you is to maybe cut something from the middle or cut something from the end, and just leave people hanging and then entice them to pick up the story, especially if it's published. So that was my thought, but others chime in.
I from the readings I used to run in Salem, I would say anything over 10 minutes, people start to kind of drift and get bored unless it's a very, very talented like reader. Some people are kind of natural performers. Like if any of you ever seen Rob Smales read, he's like this brilliant like live performer almost. And I know like John Padgett's the same way, but most of us aren't like that. So I find that after 10 minutes, people's attention spans generally kind of go.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Sounds good to me. I think 10 minutes is good because it's also all the other readers stacked up, and then people might, if they're watching, they might stop watching. There's always that.
Not good.
Yeah. So if we all go for 10 minutes, I think, and two, especially if both Curtis and Paul end up reading, and we can certainly squeeze 6 people in, but then we would definitely want to stick to 10 minutes because I don't really want to do over an hour at all. And I will it's probably for the best. I will have 0 intro airtime to swear and drop F-bombs and have to cut it later. So it's probably for the best for all involved. So just to recap on that, we are going to have our second reading this Saturday. Let me double check the date on that. The 18th at 8 o'clock, and it'll be hosted via StreamYard. But we'll do it live on our YouTube link. This echoing is driving me nuts. I'm going to take my speaker out and see if I can switch.
I don't know if it would make sense. I don't know how many people on there like look for this sort of thing, but I know StreamYard will also let you stream live to Twitch, which is like a growing kind of thing. And Derek Hussey at Hippocampus, I mentioned that I might stream my podcast to Twitch, and he was like, "Oh, that's great. I'm always trying to find like book content on Twitch, and there isn't that much." So it's something that could be done simultaneously as YouTube. I don't know if it's worth it or not, because I don't know if you'd get any viewers there because it's mostly video game stuff, but it is another avenue potentially.
Okay, can you drop that in the chat so I can look into it? Cool.
Krista, would you be able to send us a link to the YouTube thing for Saturday?
Yes.
Like an email or something.
So
I'm going to try and use a different computer as well because the mind glitches on me now too.
Okay. Can you hear me with this now?
Yeah.
Yes, that's great.
Okay, cool. No echoing so far.
Nope.
My plan is to just completely iron out. I'll wait for Paul to get back to me, and Curtis, I would say, and I know Tiffany, did you have any interest in reading on Saturday night?
Oh, I have nothing prepared, so
Okay.
not at the moment. No.
Okay. We're going to try to do another one in January too. So I know we had talked about you doing the October one, so I'll keep your name if you want to at least think about being prepared with whatever for, we did talk about maybe doing Edgar Allan Poe inspired for January, for Edgar Allan Poe's birthday in January, and either like maybe mixing it up, and some people can read like Poe inspired personal pieces that they've written, or if you just want to like do like we could do little echoing again. We could do little like 2-minute intervals. I'm gonna just pull this.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, nothing.
No.
It's either one or the other.
We were thinking of also reading some Poe as well,
Yeah.
which I think would be great. I would really love to read Annabelle Lee. My father read that to me growing up before bed. And I would love to read that one. Yeah.
I
It's
know
so good.
Josh won some sort of
That's all
contest for reading Poe. So I'm sure he'd be interested.
Oh, he was. He expressed some interest. That'd be so great. And for this reading, I'd love to share a link when it's ready. I might share the news that we're reading, as I haven't done that yet, but I'll put it on Facebook and Twitter that we're having it at, did you say 8 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. my time, and just see if people can tune in. They might enjoy that.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Like,
geez.
this is literally, like I've said before, I have all of this fancy, like, corporate Pfizer issued equipment, like, and we are doing quite well. There's that little thing called the COVID vaccine. You know, we don't have shortages of money to pay for my office equipment, but apparently it never wants to work. So I'm going to grab headphones for my old-fashioned cell phone, and we're going to do it this way. Oh, goodness. All right. So, yes, one of the other things I wanted to talk about Hello?
Yep.
Hi.
Okay. You guys are going to fire me as the chapter coordinator due to technological incompetence.
I mean, it's not you. It's tech is made by
No.
people, and how people, how are people?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But I still always feel like things are connected. They should work. They're connected.
I mean, yeah, and things cost, money, and they're expensive. They should work, but still, tech is made by people.
Besides that, none of us want to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. We're just grateful. Yeah. Let's say that. I'm just grateful, Christa. You do keep us in order, so it's okay.
Well, I try. I don't
You
know
bad
that
eye.
I would. You're fine. You're totally fine. It's all about communication. I feel like everyone, the worst part about things is when when like Jason couldn't get the Discord. He was like, I'm trying to talk to you guys and I can't make the Discord app work. If you can, as long as I can, you always email me, Steve, and we figure it out and it's all good. But yeah, somehow it's December 16th. We never really got an in-person meeting together, or an like event, like a dinner or a get together or whatever. I know some of that is also due to the whole new Omicron variant popping up everywhere and people trying to stay in again. I actually just heard today, I have not fact checked this at all, but is Rhode Island going to have is returning to a indoor mask mandate?
Yeah, we did that. The governor did that.
Right. So
Ours are starting up tomorrow. We have a mask mandate, so I'm set.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
That's one. And then I have to show you my other one. I've been excited to wear this. Can you
Nice.
read it?
Ooh.
Yeah, this is
Yep.
his suit. If you're a fan, I was a big fan of the red suit. So yeah, I have to wear
Very
a red
good.
shirt with that. Yeah. So mask mandates are back.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, we might have to be sticking to Zoom for a little bit longer, but I think this reading will go a lot smoother. And if we had as many people as we did for the last one, that's what I started to say 20 minutes ago now, when before my third speaker issue. Once I speak with Paul, so Tiffany said, not prepared right now. Curtis said, I'll reach out to you and just confirm, but I would really like to put the flyer together tomorrow, like early morning, so that people can share throughout 2 full days. And I don't think, I think that was pretty close to what we did last time anyway. And people have short attention spans. So if a lot of times people see something, I feel like we got a lot of people from the last post that I made the Saturday of the reading on the HWA page, because people are like, oh, that's happening in 25 minutes. I'm not busy. I'm going to jump on it. So we'll get some people from doing a slightly earlier advertisement, and then you can post it on social media.
So,
Is anybody going to
back-
read something? Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
So Christa, back to the January thing for Poe. Is that like the plan? Because I like I like it being like, I like the way it sounds. I like, constraints and homework. If you tell me to like go and like in a month write a Poe inspired, thing, I'd be like, all right, you gave me constraints, you gave me like a, rubric. I can go and do this. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm just so used to homework.
I mean, I know Lauren, Steve, Jason, and Josh were all interested last month. And I said, I read last time, I'm not going to read this time. I want to make sure people that haven't read have the chance to read, but I definitely have something that was just published that was super Poe inspired. So I'd be happy to jump on that bandwagon too. So yeah, I mean, if everybody, like Curtis, do you have any thoughts? Because I know you were the other one that wasn't here last month.
I think that sounds like a great idea to do. I don't really have anything Poe inspired myself, but I think it sounds like an awesome reading. So
would you want to do, I think Josh is going to do like 10-minute reading of his own work, and then like a 2-minute little interval, like actual Poe piece, because he's really good at, he does like the Poe readings all the time. So if you wanted to read something by Poe, and we'll stick you in 2 readers reading like personal stuff that they'd written, that could work too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take space away if there's somebody else who wants to do it and like there's no space, but like if there's space, I'll do that. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll make a note of that. Very good. Yeah, so I think, Tiffany, we've decided that is the plan. Actual plan. All right, so Jason is not here, so any people have any like markets they want to bring to attention of places that are open for submissions right now, or any cool, like I've seen a lot of people posting about, I think it's probably over now, the application process, but a lot of people just posted who their HWA mentors are. Has anybody done that program either as a mentor or mentee?
I have not. I know Weird Tales has an open call right now for just for pitches right now.
Yeah, I did see that. That's
Right.
cool.
It was cosmic horror.
Yeah, cosmic horror is the theme.
Yeah.
I think there's only one spot, so it'll be stiff competition.
Is there really only one spot? I did not hear that.
Yeah, I
That's
think
crazy.
whenever they do these open
Ooh.
calls, it's only one spot for the open call, and everything else is people that Mayberry goes to and solicits.
Wow. So Tiffany, Belicio was actually messaging me from our Stone Coast program the other day. And
Oh,
she said,
really?
"So Christa, did you see?" Yeah, we've beta read for each other a couple times. So we'll throw each other back and forth some horror markets that are submitting, and she brought the open call to my attention, and she was like asking me just like if I think a couple people on the comments too were like, how long should the sample be? And my explanation to her was like, I think he's kind of trying to leave it open-ended to kind of like kind of have to just insert your own professionalism kind of thing. Like part of the call is like knowing how long of a sample to send without being explicitly told, like pick probably not more than 2 to 3 pages at the most. And we had a whole conversation about it, and she was excited to, not that like I'm discouraging her at all but I didn't, we were talking about it and I had no idea. We were talking about how a call like that in and of itself was a little more work than usual for probably not a payout, because there probably wasn't, but I didn't realize there was only one spot potentially. So that's crazy.
Well, what was it?
But good practice.
I think it was Tobias was saying how like one time he like made a really, really great intro, and it had a lot of promise. And I think it was like last minute he whipped it up. And I guess the editor emailed him back and was like, hey, great stuff, but I didn't like how the way your story ended. You want to like revise this so we can publish this? And he was like, all right, cool. Because that was his plan, was like, if I throw out a really great intro in the beginning, maybe, it'll snag them in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly, there's a reason he's not asking for solely invites. He wants one person from the slush. So there's a chance. Yeah.
There's a submission call as well. I was just looking for it, which I'll put in the Discord thread. It's from Woodrow Writing Services, submissions, horror that represents you, 1,000 to 7,000 words, and it's 11 US cents a word. Adult horror, but looking for marginalized groups. So it just sounds really interesting. So it's the Catstone Books publisher, Alex Woodrow. I don't know, it just looks really interesting. And I'll share that link. So
yeah, that would be great.
Mm.
And then there's also, I just thought of this, another like long shot kind of one. There's that Clash Books call, and it's got a long deadline for like, I think it's like October of next year, but it's called Nowhere Fast, and there's a huge list of already invited authors: Brian Keene, Josh Mallerman, Gwendolyn Keist, Stephen Graham Jones.
Oh,
but it's a cool concept. You love the nostalgic feel of the movies of the 80s and 90s. So it's Nowhere Fast pays homage to the well-loved theme, coming of age, and then adds a horror element.
that sounds like fun.
That's like a nice long deadline. But I don't know about everybody else, but I'll think like, oh yeah, I got all this time. I'll write a story for that. And then once it's October, I'll start it in September.
Can you pop that in the Discord feed? That would be awesome.
Yep, I'll do it right now.
Because I love that. I love the way that sounds. And oh my goodness, being in the TOC with Steven, stop it.
Right.
Gwendolyn, that's a nice crowd.
Yeah, and it's a cool, like you said, concept. So it's a good one to keep in mind. Yeah, so I mean, I didn't have like a huge agenda this month because there wasn't thinking there was going to be a feasible way for people to get together. I know everybody's really busy with the upcoming holidays, and things have been crazy for everybody. So I don't know if like people want to have a discussion about any like writing things. We want to open it up already to any other business. If people anything that you want to ask anybody? I mean, I do have something that I thought was really interesting that I could just throw out there. So I think it was on LitHub, and it was a short article, which fit with the theme of the article. And it was talking about, I think it was on Shirley Jackson's birthday, which was just a day or a couple days ago. I lost all track of time. But it was an article about how one of the most popular, the most read, or I forget exactly what the parameter it set around this story, but it was something like, one of America's most known or best known stories was written in a morning. And it tells the whole story that Shirley Jackson herself told in interviews, which was that she wrote the lottery. She got the idea for the lottery while either at the grocery store or driving to the grocery store. And she came home and she put her daughter in the playpen for 2 hours, and she wrote the entire story while her daughter was in the playpen. And she supposedly, this is like parts where like I guess the New Yorker editor was like, well, we might have made a couple changes, but like according to her, she made like 2 edits to even everything that she wrote was like, she sent it in and it basically stayed the same way. And the point of the article was that like a lot of times we conflate effort with greatness, and that like we won't take something that we've written in a short period of time and think that it's finished. We think we have to toil over it for months. And I just found it really interesting because I wrote I spent 3 years, well, Tiffany probably knows some of it. I spent 2 years at Stone Coast working on a novel, and then like probably 6 months on either side, like coming up with it and then editing and all that. And now, so it took me 3 years to write. It was a ton of research too, but to research and write this, like, it jumped all over. It started at 94,000. I got up to 100,000 words. I edited it back down, but roughly 100,000 word novel. And I've now written 30,000 words of a new novel since like the weekend after Thanksgiving. And I'm sort of like, number one, what the heck's going on? Number two, there's no way this can be any good. Number three, I kind of think it might be a little good. And then I saw this article and I was like, maybe I put too much effort into things. And I don't know. I wanted to see what people's thoughts were. Like, how do you know when something's done? Or do you typically spend the same amount of time working on things of similar length, or does it differ wildly?
For me, it depends on how obsessed I get, I guess, with the piece, how much it resonates with me on a whatever level. Like when I wrote Blackheart Boys Choir, I was completely like engulfed in that, like, every part of it, like the symbolism, the imagery, and it became like almost unhealthy to the point that I was throwing myself into that book. But it came about pretty quickly. And I think that's because I was so invested in it. It was really personal. And then there are other stories, short stories have taken me months and months for 7,000 words. So I think it can go either way, but I think if you're writing really quickly, it's generally a good sign that you're onto something that at least you're kind of passionate about. And if you're enjoying it that much, it's probably good, or at least someone's going to like it.
Robert Louis Stevenson said that he wrote Jekyll and Hyde in one weekend, and his wife was so horrified by it that she ripped it up and threw it in the fireplace, and he rewrote it in the next weekend.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I've heard that story before.
Wow.
I have heard, I know The Monk by Matthew Lewis, which is I love that horrifically effed up Gothic novel. And that was I don't remember the exact amount of time, but it was supposedly written in a very short period of time. And it's great.
God,
Yeah.
I want to get there.
And The
I wanna
Lottery
do
is
that.
one of my favorites.
Frankenstein's
Again,
another
Lauren,
one.
sorry.
Oh, I want to get there. I'd like to get there, but I agonize and toil and torture myself. And I have this perfectionist that just keeps, nobody can look at it until it's done. It's this And I love being there too, because stuff falls out of the sky and you think, how could I not add that? How could I not cultivate that motif in there? And how can I include that character? He's not doing anything. All this goes on, and I love that space, but it took me 7 years to write my novel. 7, but I had 2 babies. Hey, I had 2 children at the time, and very little support around here. My husband was great, but still, I mean, we didn't have the grandparent gravy train. But I'd like the next novel to be half that, at least, but a weekend, bring it, man.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I want to know what he ate that weekend and what did he look like? Did it all just go south? Was he in like a robe and get off my lawn? Was that happening?
Robert Louis Stevenson, so he wasn't feeling that good. And he had moments of like extreme focus, but then most of the time he didn't feel good at all.
Oh.
I think practically speaking, it's really just about putting in the work, and how long it comes about is going to vary from like what's going on in your life and how you write. But I think the most important thing is just putting your butt in the chair for X amount of time per day, or having time put aside that you say, this is when I'm going to do this. If that's an entire weekend and you have that time, that's fabulous in that kind of focus. But it's interesting what you said about him not being focused a lot of the time, though, because sometimes if I write at night, I have a hard time writing at night. I get really tired and I start dozing off, but I'll like power through and I'll write like a sentence at a time and doze off and write a sentence at a time. And sometimes it comes out really good, even though I'm miserable doing it. So.
That's so funny.
The problem with spending a long time writing something for me is I find that it looks like I have spent a long time in between chapters. Like if you read it, you can tell like this guy stopped between like chapter 7 and chapter 8. It just doesn't go like that. And Lauren, this will make you feel better. It's almost 23 years now I've spent writing Cursing the Darkness, and I've written the whole thing over 5 times. Wow. It's almost like 5 different novels at this point. And
that gives me anxiety.
That's my hat.
I'm on year 9 for The Gravediggers, and that's been done over twice. So it gets to be an illness. So that should make you feel better.
Yeah. I can say the original seed for Serpent's Wake was planted 30 years before the book was published. Oh my God. It was a class I took in college, and I was the psychology of religion, and the professor mentioned Marie von Franz and fairy tales. And I was like, oh my God. And she didn't talk about it. She just referenced it, and I chased it up, and I thought, I want to write this story. I want to write a fairy tale that speaks to the unconscious of adults, that speaks to that inner child that's totally buried, because she said that the fairy tale speaks the unconscious of children. It addresses their fears of abandonment, all that stuff. And so it was 30 years in the cooker, and I'm like, oh God, can I just get an impulse and chase it and be done? That would be so nice. Maybe when we're 70, that'll be like bang. I don't know.
It's so interesting to me to hear. I'm just enjoying this conversation just because, like, it's interesting that people have such different processes. Like I was thinking, everybody was kind of throwing out examples of people that have written things really quickly. And the first example I gave about Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, I think that's one of my, I almost want to say it's my favorite short. It's the thing that I read that made me want to write short stories, because I always thought to be a writer, you need to want to write novels. And then I read that and I was like, if you can do this with a short story, like short stories are where it's at. But then I think of somebody like Donna Tartt, who's totally not a horror author, but I love Donna Tartt's books. They're like kind of, the first one's kind of like Southern Gothic, and there's sort of like New England Gothic. They're so lush and beautiful. And she takes 10 years to write one book, 10 years. And I love this quote from her, but she talks about how writing a novel to her is painting a mural with an eyelash brush.
Oh my God.
Like that's how she thinks of writing a novel. And that when she gets to the end of her process, she takes like weeks to figure out where a comma goes. And it's like, I certainly don't want to be that crazy, but
Wow.
there's like, you know, I go back and forth between kind of like that sort of end of the spectrum where like, oh, I got to work on this for 3 years for it to be worth publishing, to the like, no, if I make myself just pump out 1,200 words a day and then edit them as I go, it'll be fine. So it's just weird. I like hearing other people's perspectives.
Yeah, I don't think I'd
it's
ever
cool
have
to
the
try
patience to
different
do.
stuff.
Go ahead.
Oh, I think it's cool to try different approaches. Like when I was doing my master's in Boston, they said, take risks now, because if you get a win, you'll get more conservative as you age. And I always remembered that. And I'm like, we have to mix it up. We have to try different things. We have to try different approaches. Like try to cram it out in a weekend. Try to see what you get, you know? I think it's a great idea.
That's why I think that like NaNoWriMo thing is like a good exercise. I don't think I would ever complete it. I don't, but I think it's a great exercise to try to pump something out that quickly. And you know, I think most people aren't going to come out with anything publishable. But you might come out with, you know, a really well fleshed out outline of something.
Yeah.
Right.
Or a not super well fleshed out draft. That's how
Yeah.
I always have felt like if I could make myself do it, it would be like a good draft. But I have finally come to the acceptance that like anytime I ever try to write 2,000 words a day, I do not make it. I have to go by pages. And it's either if it's on handwriting or typing, I say just write 4 pages. And that's all I have to do. And it usually comes out to about 1,200 words. And that's just like made peace with that. I think it was like from reading Stephen King's On Writing, like you get that, like, everybody, if you're going to be serious, you should write 2,000 words a day. And I try it and I get like, I don't know, just like too caught up in trying to meet a quota and not like enjoying what I'm doing.
I usually give myself like an allotment of time. I'll say, you know, this is the time that I'm going to write today, and whatever I write in that period of time is what I write.
Yeah, sometimes that's just how it works out. You know, if you only
Yeah.
have an hour, you do what you can.
Exactly. You know, my first couple books, you know, I was working like crazy. I was working like 60 hours a week and commuting like 10 hours a week or something when I wrote my first couple books. And they were mostly written on lunch breaks and like train rides, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, 1,000 words a day is 90,000 words in 3 months.
Yeah.
That's a novel man.
Crazy.
I'll take that.
I think Stephen King
Yeah.
said something about trying to get your first draft done in 3 months as well. So,
Yeah, he did.
you know, I admire that. I'm working towards that.
Oh, he said 30
I'm still-
years. Oh, 3
I
months.
know.
Oh,
A work in progress.
yeah. I think if it comes to time when you're working on something too long, you really have to show it to somebody. And
Yes.
who knows, if I ever show it to an editor or something, someone might say, oh, Cursing in the Darkness is actually 2 or 3 different novels. That's why it's taking you so long. So do this, this, and this. Like, you just, sometimes if you're into something for too long, you just need a fresh pair of eyes on it just to remind you what you should have been doing. If I were to look at my stuff now and try and think like, oh, maybe the first draft was the best one, I wouldn't even know where to find that at this point. So I think we should all be kind of the same. I show to people all the time, but I never show my novels to people, and I should.
Yeah.
You bring up another good point, Steve. I know I mentioned to Tiffany earlier that I had beta read back and forth with somebody that we were in our MFA program with. And one of the things she asked me when she like very shyly asked me to beta read something for her was like, you know, I'd be happy to beta read for you too, but like, I think she had the impressions because I had kind of been involved in the horror community a little longer. And, you know, she was sort of like, I'm sure you already have a ton of people to beta read your stuff. And I was like, actually, I have no one pretty much. Like, I've always found it really difficult to ask people to do that because I feel like it's a huge ask. And I also feel like there's a bit of like matchmaking that has to happen. Like, I think the best beta reader is somebody that's sort of going to at least like get it. Like they have to be somebody that, you know, like if somebody writes, oh God, I don't know, but like, you know, if somebody writes like splatterpunk horror and I write like psychological gothic kind of stuff, they're probably not gonna have the, I mean, they might have like, you know, line by line or some great perspective on some things. But yeah, I've always struggled after, I think I started kind of connecting with the horror community and reaching out and meeting people and writing and submitting in 2014. And, you know, I graduated an MFA a year ago and have nobody to beta read really anything. So I think, you know, somebody mentioned it when this group first started. Steve, it might have been you, maybe a couple people mentioned it, but if there's people in this group that want to beta read for others, or like, I think it's a good conversation to have, like throw out there if you need a beta reader or you want to beta read for people, because I think people struggle with asking for it and getting it. And if you find somebody to like swap with, so now I'm kind of in the position where like she and I have beta read for each other multiple times and it's working out really well. And it's sort of making me see what I was missing. So now I'm sort of like getting greedy and I'm like, I want like one or two more of these people, just that's it. And then I feel like that's kind of the goal that I've always thought would be great to have.
I did bring that up in our first or second meeting. That was me. So yeah, if you're asking for a beta reader, I'll beta read for you.
I will say if anybody doesn't have much experience with working with beta readers, I think that an important thing to remember too is, and like you were saying, you want like one or two more of these people. I think it's important to get a couple of opinions, because you're always going to have somebody who doesn't like something, like, you know, this didn't work for them or whatever. In generally, if I think it works, I'll ignore it unless multiple people say that. So, you know, I like to have multiple beta readers. So if three people all tell me, Curtis, this doesn't work, then I know, you know, that I'm wrong there.
Right.
So I think that you have to learn how to utilize that input as well. Instead of just, I think you're either going to jump to one extreme or the other. You're going to listen to everything they say, or you're going to let your ego kind of get in the way and be like, oh, they're wrong about everything. Why do I even let them read it?
Yeah, there's a middle way, Curtis. And I think, God, it was Doris Lessing who said, you learn to sort it out. You learn to sort the good from the bad through that process. And like Christa, I'd be willing to beta read for you. And I would love to do a quid pro quo. I mean, I love psychological horror. I love Gothic. I love your themes. I've read a few of your stories now and I gel with it. And I think the other thing I can say is, because I teach adults how to do this, I actually have this course called Polish and Publish, where I try to group 4 writers in the same zone. And I teach them how to beta read. I have a sheet that I can send out as a response to this, to our group. And it kind of guides you through what I learned at Emerson, so that you don't damage somebody else's creative process. It is so freaking fragile. And it's so easy to mallet something because you didn't like it. Whereas, and also to infiltrate it with your own creative solutions. So it's a sheet, it's a couple of pages where you kind of go through, if you're just feeling a little not, you know, like if you don't have the confidence or you just want a refresher, to protect the other person's work and not contaminate it with your creative solution. So at Emerson, we were forbidden to, there'd be like, don't write the piece, don't use the word you, like always reference evidence. And it was quite, I organized this into a kind of cheat sheet. If you want to share it around, I'm happy to do that. Because I had a thank you. I had a piece of writing just torn to shreds in a workshop at Emerson because the professor was correcting manuscripts and she just wasn't paying attention. And they weren't into my weird gothic-y horror speculative fiction stuff. And it was like hyenas surrounding an ailing zebra. And I never went back to that novel. It just flatlined. And I think it can help to just have a couple of guides in place before people beta read, you know? So I'm happy to volunteer that.
Great.
Yeah, I'd like to see that as well.
You got it.
One of the problems I have, you know, I'm pretty good at picking out, the positive things kind of gently pointing out things I didn't like. But I have read a few things for people that were just awful.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time addressing that because I feel like I'm going to damage them by telling them that it's good. I don't want to lie to them, but how you approach someone when something's really bad and tell them that in, a kinder way.
You say it's not ready. That's part of my job as an editor. When people try to hire an editor before they've had a beta reader and just their mom has read it and she said, this should be a movie. And I have read atrocious. Like I want to say you should be ashamed of yourself, but I don't, because did you even read it out loud? Like, did you even read it? Or did you just go blah and then say, Lauren? So something I'll say is it's not right. It's not ready yet. There are stages of being ready. And sometimes people need to hear that. And they'll say, well, what do you mean? I'll say, read it out loud, let yourself hear it. It's just not right. And I've had to knock back people who were like, take my money. And I'm like, no, it's not enough, honey, for the therapy I'm going to need. So yeah, I think that's a good out. If you just look at it and you're like, no, I just don't think you're ready for critique. And I say it's fragile. It's like a little baby that's just not ready to go to the shopping center yet. You need to wait. So, and then I'll say, go read Story Grid by Sean Coyne. Go read Saves the Cat by Jessica Brody. Have a look at those. Use the Fool's Cap model, which could help Stephen too. The Fool's Cap model, if you go to Story Grid by Sean Coyne and download his Fool's Cap, it can help bring your story together if you've been working over a long period of time. Like, just throw them some models and say, stew on these and come back to me in 6 months. So
it's interesting saying these because I was a member of 2 writing groups at the same time in Worcester and in Warwick. And in Worcester, they use the glass box kind of theory of critiquing. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's, as the writer, you just sit there and one person at a time has, I think, 2 minutes to just say what they want to say about your writing. And you just sit there and take it. And it's exactly the opposite of what I'm hearing so far is because their philosophy is, if you can't take the harsh truth from us, how are you going to take it from editors that slam you and agents that slam you and just cold rejection letters that you get and form emails that you get. So I thought that was valid as well.
Yes.
Worcester was the glass box one. And then in Warwick, I had to drop out of that one because there were so many Tolkien ripoff pieces being sent around. There was just a ton of really, really, really awful things. Some of them was good, but it was so bad I couldn't do both at the same time. And I ended up sticking with the Worcester one, even though I'm in Warwick and I drove, it's an hour and 15 minutes to go to Worcester one way, but for me, it was the better group. And I kind of miss it. That's when I got most of my writing actually done and published. So I don't know, maybe, I think it's different folks for different strokes. I think the glass box, really harsh truth is what I need. But other people might need something, like you said, Lauren, a little nicer, a little like, this just isn't ready for critiquing yet.
The glass box, I didn't know that was the name for it. That's how we were trained in Emerson College in Boston. And that's kind of the approach I use in my polish and publish, but I don't let anybody be cruel. And if you have something negative to say, you have to back it up with evidence and cite pages, cite paragraphs, say this isn't working. But also kiss, kick, kiss, like let someone know find, if you have to work really hard to find one positive thing, you do it, because not everything is foul. Like there will be something.
They didn't allow cruelty. And like you said, if you had a criticism, you had to follow it with an idea to fix it. Yeah. So you couldn't just slam something. Good. You had to say, like, I think you're trying to do this. This isn't working, but perhaps this might, and you could be a little rougher than that, but you had to have answers for your criticisms. You couldn't just slam. So I'm sorry if I made it sound harsher than it was, but but sometimes, they were like, this character just doesn't work.
Right.
And, and to hear that, 90,000 words in, like, oh my God, But
Yeah, but the fix might not be it might not be massive, right? The fix for that, if someone says your
Right.
character's not working, it might not be a major overhaul. It could be just a few well-placed lines and pop,
Yep.
Or
if it's a minor character, just take them out. Or, change your slant a little bit. You're right. It doesn't have to be a major overhaul, but just to hear those words, even if it's not a major blizzard of work afterwards, it's just, it's vomit.
I think that is important though, to cite, like you said, to cite the evidence, because I found in like writing groups and stuff like that, especially with less experienced people, they'll try to give input just to give input, just to be part of the conversation, in which can then harm the writing of whoever's getting critiqued, because they're just saying stuff to say it,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Often, some of our members were often asked to leave because they're active or not like our. We had a max 10 members, but we occasionally had 11 or 12, but sometimes 1 or 2 went. It was boot camp, but
it's good.
yeah. Well, if anyone has anything, I think one of you, somebody might have sent something to me right before myself and my girlfriend got sick with COVID. If one of you did, I apologize. But certainly if anyone needs a beta reader, I'm available and we can do quid pro quo as well.
Cool. Yeah, we definitely, Steve, you and I, maybe in the new year, the whole like forming a database thing,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I still want to get, no, it's, please. And I think, we haven't even been a group for a year and we've already had membership ebb and flow. But I definitely still have the goal of having some sort of like Google, like a database where we can have, all of our contact info, a place for markets, like basically everything we talk about, but, for somebody that missed this meeting or for, somebody 3 months from now, it's like, Christa mentioned some, coming of age horror thing. And I know she even put it in the Discord, but I'm not going to scroll back 3 months on the Discord, like the database, the markets page, like I'm going to play around with that. Yeah, we'll figure something out. It'd be really nice. A place for people looking for beta readers. You go in, you say, I need somebody to beta read. Oh, look, Steve also is looking for a beta reader. I'm going to hit him up and maybe we can
Love it. It's great.
So we'll have to get that going.
So supportive. Like you just get better and better when you have that kind of support,
Yeah,
great.
Definitely. I missed that. I regret the group broke up in Worcester, but I regret not joining another one since. I should have.
Yeah, does everyone have a writing group that they do?
I do.
No.
No, not anymore. If anyone's looking for a writing group member, I'm experienced. Again, harsh, but I'm experienced.
That's something. I'm gonna really try to like get some sort of database going before the new year, before our next meeting, because I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities coming out. There's also Stoker Con. There's
yes.
I want to have like links for people. I still owe people an email with like, although I have to say, so I was going to say I owe people an email from the last meeting. We talked about the different ways to promote your award potential or award, what is the term? Award consider, your stuff that's eligible. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Award eligibility post. But the HWA page used to be a little confusing in that regard. Like I remember, I think it was in 2018, because that was when my collection came out. I remember having some difficulty kind of like navigating the whole thing and figuring out, okay, I can do a Facebook post and I can do an opt-in email and I can do a jury submission, or I can have the publisher do the jury submission, or I can, it was a little less streamlined. But I actually went there today because I was going to submit, 2 different things for opt-in emails. And it was like pretty, all the information was there. It's like right on the HWA website, the member directory for people that are interested in receiving those opt-in emails, and the you know, just the whole breakdown of the Stokers and how award eligibility works. So I would still like to get that post out, or that email out rather. But again, something that would be great for the database, HWA Rhode Island database. And also we have such a sick logo, and I need to slap that logo onto more places. Like when the Omicron variant has stopped immobilizing people yet again, we got to get some t-shirts. Like, you guys know,
Yes.
it's that, like the fish with the vampire teeth, and it's so, the color scheme is so cool. Yeah, I did not have any, like we had like, the HWA has an amazing artist that they have like funds set aside for chapters to pay this artist to like make you a logo, which was, when we started this chapter, I was like, that is so cool. We don't have to, I was thinking, you know, I did substance abuse advocacy work for a while, and I like created my own logos for different groups that we had. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I'm gonna try to put blood streaming down an anchor. That's probably the route that I'll go. It would have been horrifying, and not in the horrifying way that we were going for. So yeah, we need to database with the logo and t-shirts, and mugs, cool shit.
Mugs. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm gonna look at. I'll ask John Palisano, because he is the one that like hooked me up with the artist. And there's funds for stuff that I don't think we've used. Like there's funds for events that we have not been able to use because we're in our homes. But yeah, I'm gonna shoot him a line and ask him if there's like what kind of funds we could use for different things.
Cool.
But yeah, so I thought that was a very different meeting than one that we've had in quite a while, but I enjoyed it very much, and I'm really glad for everyone's participation and for everyone being here tonight a few weeks before Christmas or winter holidays. Yeah, anybody have any last things they want to shoot into the internet abyss?
Next
Just
time,
thank you.
someone has, I'd love to ask, I'm going to fire GoDaddy soon because they just screwed up everything that I asked them to do with my author webpage and emails and everything. And I was just wondering how you've managed your own and what you use, and if it's on Facebook or if it's on Instagram, or what you'd have your page on.
Hey, Christa, did you go to Jess's graduating seminar on how to build an author website? Because that was very helpful.
I did, and I probably have the notes somewhere. Do you have the notes?
Somewhere like deep in my laptop. I would probably have to like dig through if like she shared it afterwards. But yeah, that one was very helpful. What did she say? WordPress?
I've heard of WordPress.
WordPress is, yeah.
That's what
I
I
used, I don't know like how, I'm kind of, because I was going to say something else, but then I thought, I'm going to say I'm not very technologically advanced, and then you're all going to be like, oh, shit, Christa, we've been dealing with that for how many meetings now? I'm kind of, like, if I can be lazy with my technology, it's like worth the money to me. So I don't know if I'm going to say this and people are going to be like, oh my God, you spend that much money. I spend like $50 a month on a local Rhode Island company that does a lot of local Rhode Island businesses, and they do my whole website. Like I just send them a Word doc with, like sometimes I'll send them like a 9-page Word doc if it was, you know, this was probably closer to 3 years ago when my collection was coming out, you know, with interview links and anthology, you know, images and the hyperlinks everywhere and images and artwork. And I mean, I'm not like tooting my own horn, but if you look at my website, like I think the website's really cool, and I don't do anything. Like I just,
it looks really
thank
good.
you.
Yes.
This company does it all. So
Oh.
obviously you have to have the funds to do that. But for me, it's totally
Oh,
worth
yeah.
it. Like I just
I would totally
put into a
50
Word
bucks,
document, like
$100 a month.
put this here, change my bio, like add this link here, and they do it, and they're super professional. They do like a whole test website first, and they make sure everything looks exactly as I want it to look, and then I say, yeah, perfect, and then they publish it. So yeah,
I think it's worth it because
I can-
WordPress is tricky. I just updated my WordPress and now I'm like, what the hell? What the
Oh.
hell? And I lost a whole bunch of images. They're in the library, but they're no longer on the website. And I've managed it all by myself for oh my God, 20 years. But now I'm not sure. There's this chunks of code and I don't even know how to, like, I just keep cutting and pasting. I'm building a house of cards now. I'm building a house of cards. So WordPress, if you start off now with the latest version, maybe you'll be okay. It's supposed to be easier, but like I was doing coding, learning it on the fly and wobbly. So, I mean, I would tinker with it, but WordPress is apparently not the friendliest. I've heard that. Other people do Wix or something, supposed to be easier. There are easier
Wix is very
programs.
easy.
Is it?
I used it not for my writing site. I used it to like build a different site, and it was super easy. I have WordPress for my author site, but my wife set it all up for me, and I just go in and change stuff. But yeah, Wix is super intuitive. It's very easy.
Right.
I dropped the Westerly. I thought it was like Rhode Island. It's like Westerly, Rhode Island. So it's like my hometown local. So I dropped that link in the Discord chat, and Steve, I sent it to your Facebook Messenger
Awesome.
in case you didn't get it on Discord. So
Awesome. Thank you. That's worth it for me. I would love to do that. I'm scared now about
yeah,
WordPress. I've heard good things about Wix.
I
but
tried to do WordPress too before, and I was like, it's just not. I felt like I used to feel when I was trying to put a song on my MySpace page. Like it's not.
It's hard.
Not worth it.
I was crying.
No one wants
I
to
was
look
crying.
at this.
No, I would love to take care of that webpage for me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, cool.
And Curtis, I'll check
Well,
out
I
Wix
think
too. Thanks for the help, guys, today.
Curtis,
I really
if you,
appreciate it.
yeah. So I think we started recording at 10 after, and it's 10 after now. So we should probably stick to our trying to be on the 1 hour mark. And I hope everyone has wonderful holidays, whatever you celebrate, and a wonderful new year. And we'll get together, a couple weeks after the new year, and I'll probably be sending out a lot of emails, and I'm going to try to do my best to I'll do separate chains for everything. I'll do a chain for the next meeting. I'll do a chain for the Poe reading information. And then I'll do a chain if I get the database going and there's information with that I want to share. And then just to, let me see, any other things? So obviously the Saturday reading will be in touch on Discord, and anybody that has trouble with Discord, I'll just make sure you're getting communications from me as well. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Have a great evening, and I'll see you all I'll see some of you Saturday, and then I'll see some of you in the new year.
Wonderful. Thanks
Bye,
for
everybody.
everything, Krista.
Bye-bye. Have a good
Have a
holiday.
Have a good
care.
one.
Nice seeing you.
You too.